Hello, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Today's episode, we are going to do a book review of an autobiography that was done by Sydney Sheldon. It's called The Other Side of Me. Who doesn't know Sydney Sheldon unless you don't read books? Sydney Sheldon is an accomplished author. The Other Side of Me, which is his autobiography, was done in the year 2005 when he was in his late years, just about to die. In this book, what he does is that it is divided into, I would say, 3 phases. There is a section that he discusses more about his professional life. Actually, the Sydney Sheldon's book is more about his career. He only mentions his personal life in bits and in pieces. He also gives us a sneak view of what his family looked like when he was growing up, his family dynamics, and then he also gives us an idea of the kind of a family that he created for himself. What are the key takeaways from Sydney Sheldon's book? First, it was not so easy for him to be a successful screenplay writer. We know Sydney Sheldon won an Oscar award. And in this book, he gives us the details, the journey through which he went before he won his Oscar award. But it wasn't so easy. When he went to Hollywood and he was looking for jobs that he could get an opportunity to write, it was so hard for him that at one point, there is a lady who he pleaded with to do typing for him within a record, was it 45 minutes, quite a very short time, because he had been given a very, very short deadline. And this just gives you an idea of how this man struggled to be who he is. Then he gives us an idea of how he succeeded, his journey even to becoming a winner of the Oscar award in 1948. And then now later in his 50s, actually at the age of 55, when he decided to start writing novels. In this journey, he tells you what happened when he attempted to write his first novel. He went to a convention where authors were selling books, and there was not a single person who was willing to buy his book, yet they were signing for all the other authors. By the time a certain lady who he calls Mercy had mercy on him to buy a book from him, there was another who was just next to him who was almost finishing selling all that he had come with. So it tells you how he struggled with his first book, but now the second book became a hit. And of all the 18 novels that Sydney Sheldon released, they are all big names. Every book he ever wrote after that was selling. It was selling and it was doing well. So what are the key takeaways that I would like you to take, or what I learned from this book which I like? That poverty or starting out as a poor person does not always mean that you will end up as a poor person. Starting out in a family that has got no name does not necessarily mean that you will not have a name for yourself. It depends on the efforts that you put into something. Look at Sydney Sheldon's life. He says that his parents were so poor that whenever they would buy toothpaste, they would have to cut the tube into 2. So that they use even what could not be squeezed out normally. That's a very high level of poverty. He continues to tell us about how his dad would change jobs, careers, moving from one town to another because he was a cashier worker and he did not have a stable source of income. And how Sydney Sheldon was so happy when his uncle invited the dad to go and work with him because now he was guaranteed of an income. So you see the kind of poverty that he grows up in, and you get to appreciate the fact that even though he started poor, he did not necessarily end poor. The other lessons that you learn about Sydney Sheldon is his struggle with bipolar disorder. At the age of 17, this man wanted to take away his life. He wanted to commit suicide, and he was set. The mission was done. It is his dad who got into his room and saw the pills and the full bottle of whiskey, which he was planning to poison himself, take the sleeping pills and the whiskey and sleep. And the dad managed to convince him to change his mind. The bipolar disorder did not go. Sydney Sheldon struggled with bipolar and mild depression up to his death. And remember, he died just 1 year, 12 days before he turned 90. So he lived up to 90 years with mild depression, with bipolar disorder, but he was still able to do so much with his life. He was still able to achieve so much that we are talking about today. So it doesn't matter the kind of conditions that you have been diagnosed with or whatever it is. For me, my key takeaway is even people with mental health illnesses, or regardless of whatever illness you're battling, you can still go up to become the person that you desire to be and the person that you want to be in your future. Key takeaway that you look up from this book is the power of consistency and the power of believing in yourself. This young man started writing at the age of 10. He wrote his first poem and sold it for $10 when he was only 10 years old. Then he started writing screenplays, started writing for films, and then in his 50s he decided to write novels. It doesn't matter, even when people did not buy his ideas, even when people or publishers did not believe in him, Sydney Sheldon continued to write day after day. And then there's also something to pick out from his personal life. The first wife he married, they divorced within 1 year. Actually, in that book, he says that for the next 9 months, he really struggled to keep up with that lady. And the other lady also admitted that the relationship was not meant to be. And then he married his second wife, with whom they had a daughter. And they lived that years together. She died in 1985. Then 3 years later, Sydney Sheldon married another lady. He also gives us a story about his child, his only daughter, and what happened when they were financially down. Can you imagine? Sydney Sheldon didn't have money, and his wife was also not working. So they had employed someone to help them take care of the child. And this person, when she was told that they don't have anything that they can pay the domestic worker, and she was asked to go, she said she's going to continue staying with them until the time they'll have enough money to pay her. Then it came a time that this lady, the domestic assistant, had the couple arguing in the bedroom because there was no money in the home. Can you imagine? She removed money from her pocket and gave them so that they could have consumables in the house and other necessities. That tells you the kind of a tight relationship that there was between this family of Sydney and the domestic assistant. It's a good book. I like it. My friend Richard recommended this book to me. It's a very good book that I have enjoyed. The other thing I like about the book is he tells us how when he was growing up, he used to call the dad by his first name and the mom by her name. There were no names like daddy and mommy. I have a home where my kids don't call me by my name. They don't call me mom, they call me Angel. And then many times I go to some setups and people are like, oh, your kids, they're not well groomed, they should call you mom. And I'm like, I'm not the first one. This man was born in 1917, 1917, and he never referred to his parents by dad and mom. They were called by their name and the family was okay. So it helps me to know that my daughters are not indisciplined. They will not be rogues because they don't call their mom by the name mom, as people argue, and they call her by her name. And I like it, yeah. It's a good book. Sydney Sheldon, The Other Side of Me. Get to learn about how a man became the best author, selling 300 million copies. 300 million copies from his 18 books, winning Oscar awards for writing films and screenplay writing, to who he is today. If you like the book, let me know. Out of a score of 10, I give it 8. It was well written. Remaining 2 because it doesn't tell us so much about his personal life, his interactions with his kids, just a little, yeah, but focuses more on his professional life. And if you wanted to give up because no one bought your idea with the first sale or the second sale, Sydney Sheldon did not sell any book the first time he went to the market. And here we are today. We all know who he is. Thank you for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do so today. Bye.